We are back. Welcome everyone to the journey to the Snyder Cut. When this video comes out, it will only be a day until the famed film Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out on HBO Max. Everyone will be watching it, enjoying it. Hopefully we'll see what happens. There have been reviews coming out already of an embargo has been lifted for certain YouTubers to let their thoughts come out of the movie, and I've seen a lot of different stuff. I haven't listened to anything, but I've seen a lot of different reactions for the film. People have been saying it's the best DCU movie ever, it's this, it's that. Daniel, have you seen any of that? What do you think about this first reaction?
Well, so it's funny that you talk about that, right? Because for me, or what I've been noticing is that I see the black and white. I see no in between. And we talked about this before. I mean, through text message and stuff. And we talked about how when this movie comes out, it sucks because there are a lot of people in between that like for me at first I didn't want the movie. I didn't care to see it. I thought they filmed a lot with Snyder, and they would have to basically add a whole nother movie to make a whole nother movie. I thought, a few reshoots wouldn't really fix it. I didn't really care for it. After the movement, it's kind of inspiring, whether it's wrong or right, just it's kind of inspiring that people can get together and call for it. That it's also inspiring he's doing it for free. So now I'm just like, just show it. What if it's good? Let's see what it's about. But we talked about how there's people that were already decided. They already decided way before they decided if they liked it or not, without even seeing it. They're already like, I'm all about Snyder. I'm all about Snyder. And they don't see the movie. They're watching it, and everything that they're watching it, they're loving because they know Snyder made it. So they're kind of wearing these Snyder goggles and they love it. And so that's why they get offended when people are like, oh, it's a cult. And I don't think it's a cult. That's weird. That's like a huge jump, it's not that serious. Calm down. But there are people that are really in love with the DCEU and they're in love with it. Like there are Marvel fans and Star Wars fans. There's a lot of people, and I do this with certain things, Mortal Kombat, the original, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original. There's movies that I like, that I know, Howard the Duck. I know they aren't good, but like, I'm not gonna just because I like them, I'm not going to say, dude, this is a masterpiece. I understand the difference between me liking it and technical skill. You know what I'm saying? And so I think people are just so supportive of Snyder that no matter what they're seeing on the screen, it's an extra minute of Snyder content. So they're happy. They're just like, Snyder content, Snyder content, Snyder content. Give me more. 4 hours. Okay, great. This is a masterpiece. Were you even paying attention, bro? Or were you just like, and so it's kind of hard to tell. I haven't seen the movie yet, but you see a lot of that where there's like, this is the best movie it's the best comic book movie ever made. But then on the flip side, you see those people that are the opposite of that, and they're blind and they're seeing only the hate for Snyder. They're only seeing the no, I said I didn't want this. Why is this happening? I said I didn't want him. That was my choice. So why, I'm angry. And so they're annoyed, and they're seeing the movie through these annoyed goggles. And I wish there was more reviews from people that weren't wearing any goggles, weren't Snyder supporters or weren't Snyder haters, and just watching the movie, and then we could get real reviews. So that's why, and you say you don't read reviews until after you see a movie. That's pretty smart, but yeah, I kind of been seeing a black and white, no real in between. I've only been seeing this is the best movie ever, or what the heck was that? What? Why did we really need, 4 hours of that? That was really too long, And I saw one comment where an argument started on Twitter, of course, but somebody said, even good superhero movies, which this isn't a good superhero movie, they shouldn't be this long. And then somebody else commented and said, well, that's a really unprofessional review. And already I saw that's not unprofessional. It is a 4-hour movie. I mean, that's long.
It's excessive.
Even if you like the movie, you sat there for 4 hours. That's a long time. And so to call it unprofessional is oh, I already see you're just anybody that doesn't like it, because
it's unprofessional.
He didn't say the makeup was bad. He didn't say the acting, the dialogue was bad. He said, this is kind of long, which it is. That's not a. I haven't seen the movie, but I
Yeah.
know a 4-hour movie is a long movie. Is that bad? Is that good? Whatever.
We'd have to see.
You have to see, but
Yeah.
he's just commenting on how that's long, and someone's already like, "That's unprofessional." Well, that's not the. I don't think you know what unprofessional means. I mean, it might not be an opinion that you agree with, but he's just stating the fact that it's long. So already I'm seeing the like, this movie sucks. This isn't a good superhero movie, and then the people that are like defending Snyder at every freaking turn. So
Yeah.
now I'm scared because I'm scared of watching the movie and then being like, that was all right. Oh, you hate Snyder. You hate everything. And it's like, no, I just thought it was like a slight improvement over the first one.
Well, look, the people who are gonna say that,
Mm.
they don't watch movies.
You've been right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're gonna get that, if you just say it was cool, and they freak baby shit,
Yeah.
like, then we shouldn't be talking about movies. Let's talk about something else then.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Let's talk about something else. If you're gonna freak out about me saying the Snyder Cut was cool, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, homie. Wait.
Yeah.
You didn't love that shit?
But yeah, and you know a lot. Exactly. You didn't freaking love it. You're not, remember, I think a long time ago, this is like years ago, but I did a Aquaman like trailer thing for you guys,
Oh,
like
a reaction, yeah.
Yeah. And I even said in the thing, like, this is how sensitive DCEU fans are. Like, this is what I'm saying is, I even said, I'm gonna be first in line to see in the theater to see Aquaman. But I said something like how, something about the trailer. I wasn't like, I don't even think I said anything negative. I just wasn't like super, super excited. But I did say, I'm going to be first in line to go see that. I'm going to see that. And then, of course, anything that isn't like DCEU love, you're like a Marvel shill. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, dude, don't even stop. Like, crazy. I can back you up completely. I got a comment like that recently when I reacted to the Snyder Cut trailer, and I don't really do trailer reactions, but I just decided to, it's a new trailer. Why not, right? Why not? Who cares?
Whatever, yeah.
And I watch it, and I brought up this 4-hour business, right? I brought up, I mean, this stuff looks really cool. This trailer's pretty cool and everything, but 4 hours, it's a lot, It is a lot. That's excessive, I think, for any movie. Any movie. That I think that's excessive.
Yeah.
And someone commented, the reason it's 4 hours is because it has extra character development for all these characters, and there's this and that and this and that. Like, sure, okay, but I still do think that there are other movies that have done more with less. An example, Captain America: Civil War, 2.5 hours maybe. More characters, all of them are motivated, all of them have it's a really good example of character development with not a 4-hour length in it, and doing the best you can with that time. And the guy implied something about me being or maybe not me specifically, but he brought up there are a lot of people going into this movie with Marvel bias. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why would you bring that up? Like, why would you even bring that up, dude?
First off, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
What does that even mean, really? Because Marvel bias, what a bias towards Marvel, or
I am getting paid $5,000 per Marvel video, but aside from that, where's the bias?
Yeah, maybe they're saying the same thing we're saying, like how DCU fans just love everything DCU, but it's not even so much that they hate Marvel stuff, you know what I mean? It's just they love DCEU stuff, and I think they feel that Marvel fans hate DCEU stuff, and it's kind of true. I don't hate it. I talked about how in my ranking, it's compared to other franchises, it's not that bad. Compared like good movies to bad, it's about half and half. Which is better than some franchises. But yeah, compared to Marvel is the standard. I'm not saying Marvel is the only thing to watch and there's nothing good in the DCEU.
Right.
That's not, or in the Fox universes or in whatever, anything like that. I love all those things. But Marvel set the standard. They did it first, and they succeeded. They did an entire saga of 20 movies that all intertwine together pretty cohesively. And regardless if you hate it, okay? So let's say you, or not hate it. Let's say you don't like it. You don't enjoy it that much.
Right.
That's an achievement. And no one else has done that. Period. Hard stop. I'm not being a Marvel or DC anything. That hard
Yeah.
stop. Marvel is the first to have done it, and they did it pretty fairly cohesively. It
Hmm.
makes, kind of sense, in terms of these movies, and there you go. And they made a ton of money. They made a ton of entertainment. I don't know. What? And so that makes you feel some sort of way as a fan, but you're not even paid by them. You're not connected to it. It's really weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
It's
So,
funny,
but yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's funny, especially when we're spending our time talking about this stuff.
oh yeah, right.
Right. That's
Right.
and it's not because we hate the stuff, it's because we love it, but
Right.
we want it to be better. You know what
Yeah,
I
we
mean?
we all root for it to be good. That's the thing, you kind of do it a disservice when you're saying that it's good when it isn't, because then there's
Yeah.
no push to make it better. There's no push to do it better. Like when Marvel, like with WandaVision, I hope they don't do this with any other show where they tell us, certain things are going to happen, where they're and not, we've talked about this before, but I don't
Mm.
like it, people talking about like, oh, we love Marvel. Well, here we go. I do love Marvel, but here I think it was a misstep with WandaVision in terms of the show was entertaining and it did carry me through, but only because along the way they were holding a carrot in front
Yeah.
of me and telling me that carrot is going to be so cool. And so, yeah, I'm enjoying this ride because I'm like, okay, I'm not eating the carrot right now, but this is cool. Yes, yes, yes. And then when I get to the end, there's nothing there. There's no carrot. There's no nothing. And
Yeah.
there was no nothing. It almost as if I didn't watch it. The story, the saga, the Scarlet Witch story didn't really progress at
Hmm.
all. There was no sacrifice. The kids are still alive. Vision is still alive with memories in his new body now.
Yeah.
And so there was no sacrifice. She basically, she had a dream world and she had to sacrifice her dream world, her pretend playtime. And we're supposed to feel bad about that or something. And she had no accountability or nothing. Sure, we get introduced some new characters, but here I think it was a misstep,
I agree.
And so I hope they don't do that again. But yeah, anyways, that I don't know. I just
Well,
think,
see, what you're showing right there is your Marvel bias.
yeah, exactly.
Because you have to bring up the one time it didn't work for you.
Yeah, right. And so, and
Marvel bias.
I'm hoping that they hear the people that were like, wait, the people that aren't blinded by the Marvel bias, right?
Right.
The Marvel blinders, right? I want them to hear that Marvel, to look and hear and be like, oh shoot, we messed up.
Yeah.
That boner joke didn't land. No, it didn't land, dude. It didn't land. That wasn't really funny. Like, that wasn't funny. I'm sorry. And even if it was funny, you really, a whole show for a joke, like you really had to land that joke, and to land that joke, so the joke was the goal, and you had to build this whole show just to land this one joke. That was really the most like progress in the story. And so, I don't know.
Well, speaking of dick jokes, we are here to talk about Wonder Woman
Let's do it.
84.
Let's do it.
This is the final discussion before we talk about the Snyder Cut.
This is the final one.
Is that it? I mean, until the Snyder Cut discussion.
Oh man, I am
But
honored. Yes.
reason Daniel's here is because he and I talked about Wonder Woman, the first film, and now we have to talk about Wonder Woman 1984, or is it Wonder Woman 84? It is 1984, right?
1984, yeah.
Okay. Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
This is a movie that was teased for years and years and years. It was being worked on for years and announced and then delayed and then reshot, I believe. And then, due to the pandemic, it was released exclusively on HBO Max and limited release in theaters for those who wanted to take the risk of going to theater to watch a movie. So, Daniel, when it comes to Wonder Woman, you love the first film.
I did. I loved it.
From what I got, from what we all got, it's your favorite of the DCEU.
It's my favorite, yes. Yeah,
And
favorite, hands
of
down.
course,
Yeah.
were you excited, or like what level of excitement did you have for this film?
Okay, so I was very excited, right? Like
Okay,
super.
you sound very sarcastic right there.
No, because I was, and then I saw the trailer, and because obviously this movie's coming, like you said, we had heard about it, so I was very excited, especially after the first one. Come on, let's go! I'm down. More Wonder Woman. After seeing her fight in BVS, like let's go, man, let's go. But then I saw the trailer, and it's not that I hated it. It's just I saw a lot of indications of what was to come, a lot of tropes, a lot of like, oh man, wait, I'm gonna have to wait. And I didn't instantly hate it, but like I said, you see the trailers and you already see the tropes. You see
Yeah.
tropes, like you just see it, and I'm not that I'm against tropes, like all superhero, all movies have them,
Yeah.
that's fine, but they gotta make sense,
Mhm.
they gotta make sense, and they gotta execute well, and so I don't know, and we'll get to that obviously,
Of
but
course.
yeah, I saw the trailer and it kind of calmed me down a little bit. So I didn't hate it. I wasn't still not excited. I was still excited, I just wasn't as excited, and so I was like, let me wait and see, for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I felt about it leading up to it.
Well, I understand the trepidations because we've seen a lot of those tropes in other comic book films,
Mhm,
and it hasn't really worked out for
mhm.
some of those other comic films, such as multiple villains. You just look at some of the Spider-Man films that included multiple villains, and it completely.
Yeah.
But I was excited for it, even though when it came to the trailers, I kind of forgot about them
Mhm,
when they came out. I
mhm.
there were points where I forgot that the movie was coming out
Yeah, yeah,
last year just
yeah.
because of
The year.
there was nothing coming out
Yeah,
because
right,
of the year,
right, right.
but when it did come out, I was actually pretty excited because like, yeah, I wonder what, I like that first movie a lot.
Mhm.
That and I like Patty Jenkins as a director, and I think she's very promising, especially as an action director.
I agree.
And then we get the movie,
Mhm.
Wonder Woman. But before we get into the movie, Wonder Woman 84 was announced to be set in the 80s following the trilogy's trend of telling period piece centric stories. And
Mhm.
since you are a child of the 80s,
Yeah.
how did you feel about this motif on it?
I thought they got the imitation of it correct. So like when you see things like nowadays like Cobra Kai or
Yeah.
whatever, like when you see things like that go back to the 90s or the 80s, I felt like it got that it imitated the imitation correctly. If
Mhm.
that I obviously didn't feel like I was in the like, oh hey, that's how it was. It's similar because it's an imitation, but it felt very sitcom-y, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at that entrance, that the very beginning, Not that I hated it. I actually enjoyed that scene. So don't get me wrong, and don't rip me up in the comments. That scene was actually pretty entertaining. That the beginning scene. It felt very Adam West, very old school. Like I was watching an old school show, like old school Spider-Man from the 80s, like the TV show that only lasted like one season or whatever. But I felt like I was watching that, like I was a kid watching that. And so I felt like they got that, at least in that part, they got that aspect, correct there. I don't know what happened to the rest of the movie, but you know, um
Right.
they went back to trying to be like, oh, this is real life. You know what I mean? and
Mhm.
and then they got it right, but that beginning scene was very cartoony on purpose, right? Or it
Oh
seemed like
yeah.
a separate part of the movie, you know what I mean?
Well, it definitely felt like
Still
what
80s, but like cartoony. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Well, it felt like it reminded me of the opening of something like Spider-Man 2, where he's going off and he's saving the day in certain parts of the city. It was kind of reminiscent of something along the lines of the Wonder Woman show with Linda Carter, which they directly homage, like overtly homage by the very end. I feel like they're trying to get that same type of energy, and same type of energy is like Christopher Reeve going around Metropolis, saving the day, stopping robbers, and all that stuff. So I felt like they were definitely trying to do that.
Mhm.
And that's a cool scene. I'm cool with it, because it is very comic book E,
Mhm, mhm.
you know, and seeing her in the costume is cool and everything. The colors are really bright and everything. I was
Yes,
like,
yes,
damn,
the
this is
colors.
pretty.
That's what I was like. I don't know if I don't remember it being that bright when I was looking around. You know?
Well,
But yeah, yeah.
it's interesting that it is set during the 80s. Do you think that's because our modern cinema, our modern pop culture is really dedicated to that period of time when it comes to fashion, music, the films and everything?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, I'm biased. I grew up in those time
Yeah.
periods, but I think it's like one of the best time periods because it's the merging from not having as much technology to like what we have today. So it was
Mhm.
like the 80s and the 90s were that meld between what we have now, this being able to do this and not, and having to
Yeah.
catch TV shows on the dot, like when they release on Wednesday at 7:30. If you didn't catch it, or if you caught it at 7:40, you missed the beginning part. That's it. You're just catching the last 15 minutes. So I think those years we always like to go back to because it's just the right amount of technology. It's just the right amount of like not knowing stuff. And
Yeah.
so and if you think about it, even more recently, I don't know my fashion too much, but it seems like I see people dressing more like they're in the 90s again. You know what I mean? Like they're going back to the 90s and
The
the 80s
hair, the
style. Yeah,
tattered kind of clothing and
yeah.
everything.
And I don't know if that's because of COVID, because we're not socializing, so we're not next to people that can tell us, "Hey, that's out of style, bro." Like, you know what I mean? We're not next to other human beings being like checking us anymore. So we're dressing like, "Hey, I'm a dress like it's the 80s." You know what I mean? Like, but I do feel like that style is coming back. You see it in the stores. I'm just messing around, but
Parachute
you see it.
pants, jumpsuits.
It's like what do they call a resurgence? There we go. A
Yeah, yeah.
resurgence style. So I feel like it's good timing. Wonder Woman 84 is good timing to release it now. It's good timing. I
Yeah,
thought
I mean,
wise it was great.
got things like Stranger Things out there, which is the
Yeah,
ultimate
there we go. There we go.
appreciation of that
That's
time.
that's what I'm saying. Cobra Kai. Oh well, Cobra
Cobra
Kai is more
Kai.
movies, but yeah.
Yeah, you got that specifically that where you're always looking back to certain films like Back to the Future. I think is probably one of the biggest ones.
Of course,
Ghostbusters for sure.
of course.
Um, yeah, it makes sense that they would go through the 80s, especially since it is a popular point during history and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on politically, socially, artistically. It's a good diamond to get in, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
So I was cool with it and everything. And look, if they want to add more color to this world, I'm not going to be like, what? What?
But if you're talking about their decision to go to the 80s,
Mhm.
well, I don't know. I felt like it was a waste in that sense. Because if it's not going to add to
Especially
the,
after watching the movie.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So was I excited for it? Yes, stylistically, yes. It's good marketing. Right now it's in trend. The 80s, whatever. But I don't know. After watching the movie, I was like, not only is that a waste, because I didn't enjoy the film, but it didn't help the story at all. Like, why did you make this movie? It didn't.
Why
You
was
know,
it set during the 80s?
why
Yeah.
was it set during this time?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not trying. It has nothing to do with Marvel or not. Marvel, when they made Captain Marvel, even Iron Man 2, even whatever. Like, and I guess BVS is kind of this. But like when they're making movies, they're trying to cohesively progress the story. Civil War and all these movies, Winter Soldier, every single individual Guardians of the Galaxy kind of connects to the larger story. This, and I'm trying to do that here. I'm
Mhm.
trying to do that with the DCU. So then I go here and I watch Wonder Woman 84, and then it's not it's even if you like it, let's say you like it. Let's say it's your favorite DCU movie. Okay, whatever. I don't see how that's possible. Like, okay, but let's say it is. What did it do for the DCU? What did it do? It didn't do anything. And they almost kind of like, now looking back at BVS and watching Justice League and that, they kind of ignore the whole movie of 84 and that whole thing that happened. It kind of never happened. No one ever talks about it, whatever. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm not trying to hate. That is actually true. What's going on here? Like, why did you
Yeah.
even make this? Why not just make a Wonder Woman? If you're gonna do a nothing, why not just make a Wonder Woman 2, set in now, or a side
Yeah.
off story that she does now that kind of, I don't know, you can relate to these stories a little bit more, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, the thing about them making period pieces through this trilogy is that there's only so much that they can do,
Right,
especially since they introduced her in the present, where she is so much different from where she starts in her own first film.
right, right,
Wonder
right,
Woman, the first movie, she's definitely more naive. She gets to know
right.
more about. I mean, you could honestly stop there
Mhm.
and then watch Wonder Woman and then Batman versus Superman where she's
Yeah,
introduced,
right.
because this doesn't really
Do
like
anything.
you're right. This doesn't add much. This only takes away more. And
Yeah.
it's not like the movie ends with her heart becoming more scornful, I guess, darker. It does end on a relatively happy ending. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't, nothing. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I was like, wait, did we really need it kind of like the WandaVision. Like, did we really need to, where do we go from here? Like, I started here, and then you think you're gonna end up somewhere else, anywhere else. You don't
Yeah.
care. And then that whole thing where they try to blame the Marvel fans, like, oh well, you didn't, your theory didn't come true, so now you're upset. No, I just wanted a theory, their theory, the theory that they wrote down. They didn't write down anything. They didn't write down that anything happened, no sacrifice, no nothing. And people saying that she went through the grief, the 5 stages of grief. Like, I I mean, it was pretend. Like,
Well,
we all,
that could be said for this film also, because
yeah, true, true,
it's
true.
about Diana's denial,
Mhm,
her trying
mhm.
to resurrect the past. I mean, it's very similar and
It
applicable
is.
to WandaVision,
Yeah,
which is quite bizarre because it's both about these women who are trying to bring back their loves. Except I felt WandaVision handled that aspect of it much better
right.
because
I
it was a
agree.
much more honest take on what just on the intricacies of that dynamic and relationship,
I
and
agree.
why it's wrong what she did. Wonder
Yes.
Woman is much more of a romanticized version of which we will definitely get more into.
Right, 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 right.
um, but this is definitely a movie. But let's get to the premise because
Right. Let's
I
do it.
want to get started. The premise is decades after the death of Steve Trevor. Oh shit, I'm sorry, 1 second. Keep on pulling up the wrong thing. Okay. The premise is decades after the death of Steve Trezor, Diana Prince is still in deep mourning, but due to evil schemes of Maxwell Lord, her love comes back from the dead, and the two work to stop the Menace's plans for world domination. So, it's kind of simplistic, this premise. You know, brings the guy back, falls in love again, got to stop the bad guy because the bad guy's going to do something bad. Um, so how do you feel about that premise, Daniel?
We get it all the time, and I'm not, I didn't hate on the premise. It's the execution that was really, and the premise. I think they had nothing. They had nothing. So then, yeah, that's why the premise is so basic. And then we talked about the first movie having a solid foundation, and the premise, although it is a redone, a fish out of water. We've seen that premise before. It has a solid foundation, a structure between, like, this is happening, and you grow so with the character, right? And in this one, I think they tried to do that with Steve Trevor, right? But I don't know. It's just executed so poorly. You're all over the place with this movie, and I don't know if that was the point, because it's about chaos, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
about random things, people, everyone wishing everything and having it come to be or whatever, and but you pay a price, right, or something
Yeah,
like
it's the monkey's paw. So
that.
you
Yeah,
make a wish and then something's taken from you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I thought it can be cool, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it can be cool. This could be cool. Like you said, with WandaVision, it was pretty cool until it wasn't, right? And until it led up to nothing, So this one, it was just poorly executed. This one was just poorly executed. I wasn't really entertained throughout the movie. I wasn't, with WandaVision, I was entertained. throughout. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this led to nothing. So I was kind of like really let down. There's no payoff. And this one, there's just no even start. There's no like there's
Yeah.
no I was just kind of like, oh, okay. I was kind of in it with that scene, but I don't know. I don't know. With Steve Trevor, we know Steve Trevor, right? We know who
Hmm.
he is. We know Wonder Woman. Cheetah was kind of throwaway. I don't know. And I felt like that was a missed opportunity, big time. I feel like they could have done a lot with Cheetah, but
Oh
they
yeah.
you know.
Well,
Um,
if we start with Wonder Woman's character, where she is right now, like we said, she is still in deep mourning. It's been like 60 something years since Steve Trevor had died, but she's still in mourning. She doesn't want to be with anyone else. It was a very traumatic experience for her. It was the first guy she met, and the guy died. It was the first guy
that's
she
true.
fell in love with, and all that.
That's true.
So she doesn't want to be with anyone else. But time has passed. She's working at, I believe, the Smithsonian. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she's working at the Smithsonian as an archaeologist. She finds out about this monkey's paw, and she makes a wish to bring back, or I guess she doesn't verbalize it, but she thinks
Mhm,
about Steve Trevor coming back, and Steve Trevor does come back
mhm.
to life in the body of another man. Um,
Oh my goodness. Oh.
so he comes back to life in the body of another man. So before before we get into any of that shit, I want to talk a little bit about Diana.
Mhm.
Very quick thoughts about how you feel about Diana's place right now.
Um, I think it makes sense. She not we're humans. We get
Hmm.
dumped and all the time, rejected all the freaking time, and we lose things all the time. Things happen. So we're cool with it. But it kind of makes sense that this Wonder Woman, Diana, she lived on an island that she didn't even understand. Remember when she sees Steve Trevor naked for the first time? She didn't
Yeah,
even understand she's like, what the heck is that? What is that? Like, she didn't understand it. It was like staring at a rock, like didn't get it. So it makes sense that uh she is so traumatized from losing the one, like, other species that she like has fell in love with. So for her, she's like, I'm not, no, like, no, like, I'm not, no, stay away, like, don't smile at me, no, like, she's like, I don't want to go through any ounce of that again, nothing of that. But in doing that, she keeps reminding herself of like how sad she is, and it just stinks because it's been going on for decades. And I get it. She's not getting over it because she's not getting over it, but it's because she doesn't understand love and loss and things like that. She doesn't get it. And so it makes sense. I mean, decades, kind of long, but I mean, she is
decades.
kind of
Yeah,
like a god, so,
yeah.
I guess for her, it's not really that long.
I guess so. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
She,
But I did
we
see
know
the,
she'd be over it in a week.
yeah, right. Yeah. Batman or Superman come in and be like, oh,
Yeah.
superheroes. Like,
Well, I mean, even back at that time, like we saw when World War II ended, how everyone, like, there's that famous picture of the sailor coming in,
oh,
kissing
dude,
that,
yeah.
like everyone was hooking up with everyone. She would have
Oh, yeah,
found
there was
someone.
baby boom after that.
That's right.
Baby boom after that. You could safely have babies and not send them to war for a little bit. So everyone was having babies after that.
Tell
But
me
yeah,
she
then
didn't get the GI Bill. Get the fuck.
yeah, I thought the chemistry though between Diana and Steve Trevor, we'll get into that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I that's something that is they established in the first movie, and it carries through here, is their chemistry. And yeah, that's why I believe that. That's not I'm not, that I don't that's not where I I'm not dying on that hill where, like, oh, do they still love each other? That's whack. You know what I mean? Like, no,
Yeah.
I believe their love and her mourning, even though it's for me, I'm a human, so I don't get that, but yeah, I can understand where she is still in mourning even decades later. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
believable.
No, I
Believable.
get that.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. I mean, if I can go with WandaVision on that, if I
Right,
can go with
right,
that on the premise,
right.
I, this is fine. That's
That's
fine.
what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
it's really more the execution versus
The
the
concept, yeah.
premise. Yeah, the concept, right? Yeah.
Well, let's talk about execution when it
Let's do
comes to let's talk when it comes to not that, but this.
Oh my
When it
goodness.
comes to Cheetah, played by Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig from Saturday Night Live, a bunch of
She's
comedy
so good.
films. Here
She's so
she
good.
is in this film, in a comic book movie, as the villain, which I thought was very odd casting when I first heard it, her as Cheetah. But I was thinking, oh, maybe, maybe this could be something similar to what like Chris Pratt did with Star-Lord, in terms of the comedic actor coming into a more serious role. And here she is, but unfortunately, it's not as serious as I would have hoped. She's kind of goofy. She's very Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx-ish a bit in this movie. Daniel, how did you feel when you first saw Cheetah in the movie and everything?
First off, you have to watch your mouth about Jim Carrey.
Hey man, why
That
did
was
she go to the
good.
camera and talk with her ass on cheeks?
No, that so hey, he's a legend. I know that's a guilty pleasure, but see, we were talking about movies that we know aren't really that good, but we love Batman Forever. That one for me, and Jim Carrey is the man. That's why. But yeah, you mentioned Jamie Foxx and Electro.
Yeah,
I got that from this. I got that. I got and yes, it is a similar trope, the Jim Carrey, the Enigma thing, and
yeah.
the Jamie Foxx thing, where I'm secretly way better than you realize. But I'm
I want to
clumsy,
be
I'm
like
dumb.
you.
Yeah, I want to be
Yeah.
like you. I'm envious, and all this stuff, and then you get a superpower or whatever it is, and you start fighting the bad guy. I thought the trope is fine. Again, that's fine. We've seen it, and like I said, I liked it in Batman Forever. I liked it, but I liked the Enigma part. Two Face, that was another thing. That was a little
That's
over the
true,
top.
man. They
Yeah.
they got such a similar thing going on here where they have two villains. They're so different from each other. They have to choose one or the other because they can have either a great story over here or here, but in both, where is it? You know what I mean?
Where is it? And I felt like with Batman Forever, they chose Enigma. They
Yeah, they
chose
did.
they chose to focus on Enigma. That's why I thought not that Tommy Lee Jones's over the top Two Face was unacceptable. It was unacceptable because they didn't build to it. There was no build to. I didn't get it. It's just this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
he's
just
just a thug.
dude. He's just like that. And
Yeah.
so with Enigma, although it is one of these tropes, there's a story there that you follow, and it makes sense. And here it's with Electro and with Kristen Wiig, it's such a side story.
Mhm.
Like it's so
Yeah.
it's mentioned, and it's I don't know, it seems rushed at times. I
Oh,
don't
dude, definitely. I
I
want to
don't
be an
know.
apex predator.
Right, yeah, all of a sudden,
You
I don't know.
stretch that to making her become Cheetah? Like, no.
That's what I'm saying. The jumps, the
Yeah.
leaps. That's what I'm saying. It just it's because again, like you were saying, it's very Spider-Man 3 where you rush the third act, but here they do it through the whole movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so uh yeah, but I thought it's a missed opportunity because yes, she is a great actor. She's so freaking good, and Cheetah's such a good character. But they
Yeah, she's the
no,
villain of Wonder Woman, which is
yes,
shocking that
yes,
she was reduced to a heavy in this, because the antagonist of this is without a doubt, it is Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord here.
of course, of
I mean,
course,
the guy gets the monkey's paw. He's manipulating Cheetah and everything.
right,
He grants wishes and all that. He becomes ultra powerful. He goes for the presidency. It's just a lunatic. Um,
right.
what did you think about Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord in this?
I like him as an actor.
Yeah,
Um, I thought he played it well. I thought the character is good. I just I didn't feel the connection to his son where
yeah.
they try and make me like what he's like an absent. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
whole thing with the son. It seemed like they didn't. It seemed like they threw it in there and didn't want to commit to it. And but
They
like
just had too much shit to get through
yeah,
aside from that, you
right,
know?
right. And so you get these kind of like I'm supposed to care, but you don't care. Like I don't care at all. You know what I mean? I didn't. I don't know that it just didn't make sense. Like I get that he wanted the power, but you can tell that they had nothing. Again, you can tell like oh you're trying to add depth. So you're throwing this kid in here, and and you're not even adding dialogue. You're just being like, "Oh, here's your kid." Nah,
Your
okay,
quiet kid.
yeah. There's not even dialogue. There's no
Yeah.
even. You're throwing in like, "Oh, and your kid." Okay, and then like you keep talking, and the movie carries on, and so then you're supposed to be like, "Oh yeah, and he has a kid," but like, what? There's no moments where there's no nothing. There's no nothing to build that relationship for me to care about that. So why even have that in there? Why not just build more on Cheetah? You know what I mean? Like, why throw in the kid? You know, like
Yeah.
why have all the? And I get it because it's the motivation. It's to have the kid be proud of it, him. You know, but I don't know. It just seems
Yeah.
so rushed and so like disconnected. I don't know. I'm not saying like I'm a dad, whatever. Anyone with a dad or is a son or is a daughter and has had a father or whatever can see that that wasn't genuine. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a thing. I was like, why is this a thing? Don't show. Wait, what? No, don't. Just show me more Cheetah. Show me more Maxwell Lord, like of something else, or either commit to the relationship, his backstory, or don't. You know what I mean?
Well, ironically, I felt that Maxwell Lord was the only really compelling character in the movie because of of what little he had with his son in there. I felt like Pedro Pascal knew that it was a cheesy movie, so he was going ham on the cheesy acting,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like he's losing his mind in the film, and I'm cool with that
I'm
because
cool with that too.
he's
Yeah,
having a good time. It's very
true,
clear.
true,
A lot
true.
of people have made the Trump analogy, with
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
He's got the
yeah.
hair, he's the businessman, he's the
Mm,
con
mm,
artist, he's kind of a failure and everything.
mm.
Did you think about that when you were watching the movie?
It didn't come to mind, like right when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Towards the end, that's when it hit me. It wasn't like I watched it and I was like, "That's Trump," you know. It was kind of towards the end where I was like, like I think he's trying to do some things. Like he's trying to like wink, wink. I'm being funny. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it didn't hit me right away. But yeah, eventually I was like, I think he's trying to like imply like this is my Trump
I'm
impersonation.
not a loser. He's a loser.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know. I thought he did really well. I thought he acted that character very well. Like he did it. He performed it well. I just
Yeah.
wish all the characters had more backstory and more depth. It's kind of like it's very similar to the rendering of Cheetah in the fight, right? And we'll get to it,
Oh,
but it
Jesus.
seems like you didn't put effort into it, into the CGI, and so or into the fight scene in general, and so that's why we get it in the dark. That's why we get Wonder Woman's armor, and then she drops the armor but is stronger. I don't know. It's just like it's
She uses the armor,
yeah.
but she has her powers back,
Oh, she has her powers back. That's right. That's
but
right.
she
Yeah.
needs the armor.
What she needs. Yeah. I don't know. I just felt no need for the armor at some point.
I
I
mean,
was like,
ideally, it would be like you get the armor when you are at your lowest point. You need
yeah,
something
yes,
to fight with, right? And
yeah,
then you take it off once your powers are restored.
yes,
But her
yes.
powers were restored already.
Yeah, they were already, and so yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, that's why I didn't get it. I thought the fight wasn't bad, but it was obviously in the dark because you didn't.
You want to hide the they didn't have that PS4 quality hair texturing and everything.
Cheetah looked so bad. I don't know what was going on there, but that looked bad. That looked
Yeah,
bad, and
it's
it sucks
unfortunate.
because Cheetah. I thought they were gonna go with another origin story with where she's a scientist. Well, she is a scientist, but she's actually an explorer. She goes and she gets there's like a tribe that hunts her and her dad or somebody, her partner. I don't know. There's a lot more depth to it where she's villainous, you know what I mean? Like she
Yeah.
she really wants to get after Wonder Woman. I guess they played it up more here because I think she just hates the first Cheetah, at least just hates Wonder Woman, I think. But the second one had more development. Anyways, I, I
Yeah.
I felt like it's just a missed opportunity.
I
They
agree.
choose who to develop. I could tell, you can tell.
Well, I mean, this is a classic case of just trying to stuff as much stuff as you can when it comes to your the writing, the script, and everything. Okay, I want Maxwell Lord, I want Cheetah, I want Steve Trevor, I want this guy, I want that guy. And let's talk about the writing and the directing. So this was directed by Patty Jenkins again. She directed the first film. She did not write the first film. This film was written by her and Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is Mr. DC. Oh, maybe not these days, but Jeff Johns has written a handfuls of comic books when it came to DC Comics, including Wonder Woman, Justice League, Batman, Superman, all the guys, Aquaman, like everyone he's covered. And this is his film that he wrote with Patty Jenkins. And this kind of felt like at certain points it got as convoluted as some of his lesser stories in comics. You know what I mean? I don't know if you, I'm sure you have read some Jeff Johns work and everything. So you probably know that there are some books out there of his that can get a bit too over and indulgent, too convoluted when it comes to explaining things that are set up. Science was the explanation for this one, you know?
Right.
What did you think about the way this was written by those two?
I thought there was a lot of promise. Obviously those two teaming up, you know, Cheetah the villain, like, come on, you're using her Joker, you know, you're using Wonder Woman's Joker. So I thought, let's go. They could have just went with Cheetah, man. That would have been so sick. But anyways, I thought it was a good idea to match them up together. Maybe what happened was he tried to he went down to his lesser stories thinking that convoluting the story like that was necessary to fill the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then once he got the concept up there, all these concepts up there, then was like, oh man, no, actually, you know, 2 hours is not a lot of time to get all these stories out, you know, and but already was going with it, you know. He's like, this is what we need for a movie aspect, because he's, you know, like you said, his good comics are good comics, but yeah, they're not as convoluted, they're not overindulgent, they're not all those things. I think the jump to a movie is what made him think, hey, this is gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to do this, dip into this well here, and write this story this way to fill this 2 hours. Not really realizing that you don't need that. You know, less is more, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to choose one or the other. Is it going to be this epic, big spectacle antagonist type film, or is it going to be something more character driven, more focused on the? I wouldn't mind a smaller story between Wonder Woman and Cheetah. Not every sequel has to expand in terms of the threat. It just in terms of the stakes, it does, you know?
Of course. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if you were gonna do a one-off, you know what I mean? Like, which this ended up being a one-off that didn't do anything for the story. Okay. If you're gonna do that, why not let's just have a 6 story where we see the true hatred from Cheetah for Wonder Woman, and then they fight at the end. And yeah, that's very basic. Very, very basic. Very like, okay, villain hates you, superpowers, they fight at the end. Who cares? But that I would have really been invested in Cheetah. The hatred, like, it would have been 2 hours of building just this character, both characters, Wonder Woman and Cheetah, and it would have done nothing for the story, but I would have been entertained, and it would have been a dope, epic fight scene. We probably would have been calling it one of the sickest fight scenes of all time if they would have just focused on Cheetah fighting Wonder Woman, which should have been the focus here, you know, not Maxwell Lord and this emotional thing that didn't even make sense when they try to fix it. Like, she's away from it, not touching anything, but now can also voice through and save
to the whole world.
It made no sense within remember I told you, like, I don't care about movies, how silly, how cheesy, how corny they are, as long as they make sense within the context of its own rules. And here I felt like they didn't do that. They didn't even make rules. They tried to set up rules and then didn't follow them, and then things were just inconsistent, didn't make sense. It felt like a little kid playing with toys. And I get it, it's Wonder Woman, it's for little kids, you know, but man, like, you know, I don't know. The little kid isn't paying the money to see it too at the same time.
I am.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that definitely you run the risk of that type of sloppy storytelling when you have a guy whose power is to make wishes come true, but he has to get people to wish it. Like, don't you wish that I wished for a Ferrari, and that you wish that I had a milkshake, and wish that I was doing this, and then you go through that multiple times in the movie. Don't you
yeah,
wish that I was this and that and this and that, and then they have to say yes. It's just, come
yeah,
on now. This is you can imply that keeps on happening,
yeah,
but you
yeah.
have to continuously, continuously,
Yeah.
continuously
It's
show it.
so
It's like,
annoying. It was
sorry?
it was so annoying. It was annoying. Like I was like, oh, okay. And then you're like kind of waiting for the end of the conversation, like, come on, say yes already. Say yes. Like, okay, can this be over? Make the
Yeah.
wish.
It's like
You
you're
know?
at the DMV, just in
Yeah,
line.
yes, yes. Really, yeah, it's really sad. I thought the biggest missed opportunity is like, okay, if we aren't gonna progress the story, just have an epic fight with Cheetah, her Joker, her yin to her yang. You know what I mean? Like, what? Ooh, Maxwell Lord, who cares? Like, I don't care about this, especially if you don't care. You don't care because Maxwell Lord doesn't matter to the rest of the story. This little artifact does nothing matters to the rest of the story. So who cares? So why did you even do that? Why not just have a okay, you know, a perfect example
Hmm.
is Man of Steel. Okay,
Hmm.
I thought the film was okay. Yeah, you know, it wasn't
Right.
bad. You know, it's my second favorite DC EU film, but it holds up because there's these epic, like, sure, it's kind of basic. They went with a brooding Superman, which is kind of like not a cool take, you know, but there's the Jor-El scene, you know, like that whole part on Krypton I enjoyed. I thought that was crazy. And up until then, you know, for me, you're gonna laugh, but for me, I'm gonna lose the credibility
I'm
of everything.
waiting.
But for me, the Reeves movie, other than the first one, my favorite one is Quest for Peace. And it's because at the time, at the time,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you why. It's because at the time I could only see superhero fights on a cartoon screen, an animated screen, or in a comic book movie. So when you see these heroes fighting, there was less than 5 films where you could see like superheroes fighting in using superpowers, not like you know, like just like a Batman versus some other guy, but where's a superhero versus a super powered super villain. And
Hmm.
so like a costumed villain. And so that's when I saw Superman fighting another, you know, nuclear man. I was like, dude, I don't care how bad this is. This is dope. I can fill in the blanks with my imagination. I'm good. This is so dope. And so that's what I'm trying to say is like they could have like with Man of Steel, the Zod fight. The
Uh-huh.
Zod fight was like my nuclear man. That where the film was
I don't know if
okay.
that's a good a complimentary metaphor.
No, no, no.
Man of Steel, man, that fight, first thing I thought of was Superman versus Nuclear Man. Man, that
Yeah.
shit was dope. That was it back in the
No,
day.
no. It was after the movie that I thought, oh, I really like thought that movie was okay, but I like that movie. Like the aspects I like are the action, only the fighting, the very superhero trope type stuff, which is very Quest for Peace, like 25 cents machine Superman movie. You know what I mean? And so, not that Man of Steel is that, but I'm just saying, like, even though what it is, where I didn't like the character direction, there's still the super fights where I'm like,
Right.
hey, I'm down. Like, okay, I don't like that direction, but you know, I'm here for the fights. I'm here to pay. And that's what I'm trying to say. I wasn't here to pay for anything for Wonder Woman 84.
Mhm.
Maybe the chemistry between Trevor and Diana was pretty cool, you know, but other than that, this film didn't really offer anything to the story, to the villains, to the artifacts, to the Easter eggs, the nothing. It did nothing. It did nothing. It
What
didn't
did
really
it do?
didn't
Yeah.
do anything, you know?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, even though that one of the biggest themes of this film is truth, um, However, I feel like the way that truth is depicted is very surface level. It opens up with this scene. The movie opens up with this scene that's like this training course, this race obstacle course with young Diana on Themyscira. She's running through it. She's a little girl competing against all these grown women. So there's already a bit of an unfair advantage, but so she goes through the obstacle. She gets on the horse. She gets knocked off the horse, and she finds a way to, like, a shortcut, to catch up to, and then she eventually reaches the end and she's about to win, but then she is stopped by this other character who from the first film, who I actually forgot her name, but is it Antiope?
It's
Maybe.
Antiope, yeah.
Okay, Antiope is the one who stops her and lectures her
Yeah.
about the truth and how if you cheat, you don't get to win honorably. You need to work your way to success in life. You need to really put in the hard work and thought and everything. And then, you get all these diatribes about truth and being honest and being real about stuff and stuff. And I don't know, man. I feel like this theme doesn't really work in the film. They try to parallel it later when she lets go of Steve Trevor because it is obviously fake. It's not a real relationship. It's his soul being put into a different person's body and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I felt like at that point the movie was kind of starting to lose me, and I'm talking about the very beginning, because in context of the scene, right? It's a race where you put in a little girl versus grown women who are athletes. Why shouldn't she take the advantage? Isn't truth based on subjectivity? Like, isn't a big heavy hand in truth context? You know what I mean? Like, well, how do we get the truth and who's to decide what it is? Isn't it a collection of information? So I feel like these basic themes are not expressed properly, especially when it comes to the very end of the film where it's about the Maxwell Lord releases all the wishes, he makes them all come true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's the best scene in the movie, the very opening scene. So I know we talked about the opening scene, but it's like the second opening scene. This that you mentioned is like the opening scene, and it seems so out of place with the movie, not
Yeah.
only in the way it's filmed and like obviously the setting and everything, but yeah, the lesson. First off, and we'll dissect it, but yeah, that whole thing about truth, they never really revisit it. So like,
Yeah.
why have this dope epic scene that's all about truth and her lesson or whatever, and then like, what? So why did you even
And
wait?
doesn't pay off near the end. She
Yeah,
doesn't
at all.
tell. She meets up with the guy who
Yeah,
was the vessel for Steve Trevor. She doesn't tell him the truth then.
right,
So
right.
what was
So
learned by the end? You know what I mean? Why
the-
is that scene in the movie?
why is it in the movie? That's what I'm trying to say. I loved it. It's literally my favorite scene in the movie. But why is
It's
it in the movie? It makes no sense why it's in the movie. That's that being said. Now, let's talk about the truth thing. I agree. I could see what Antiope was saying. Like I could
Mhm.
see it. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like I get it. But for me, I get what you're saying
Right.
where she said that to be that mad and say she's disqualified. Like I didn't think I
That's
didn't
ridiculous.
because it's still a race through like I don't know, was she even cheating? She was just kind of going through the mountain, like she
Yeah.
wasn't really, you really have to step on every single path that everyone. So I was like, I get what you're saying, but I didn't get the rules before the match, so I don't know. So me from the outside looking in, I get what you're saying that maybe she could be disqualified, but at the same time, it's like, man, you're really hitting her hard with this. I just felt like it was the wrong example to really make that like
Yeah.
you're a liar and a
Yeah,
cheat.
exactly.
Like, I felt like that scene, like, yeah, but it's more of a stretch. It wasn't so clear cut that she was cheating. And then you're not even revisiting this cheating and truth thing later, really. So it's like, I don't know. I just felt it was so out of place. Even that lesson, whatever, was a reach. You know what I mean? It was
Oh yeah.
so
Especially considering that I mean those obstacles for
mhm.
her to take those shortcuts were there.
They
You
were
know,
there.
they
That's what I'm
were
saying.
there,
They were
and
there.
she's getting chastised
Yeah,
for playing
yeah.
smarter.
Yeah, for playing smart. Exactly. That's what I was like. When I was watching it, that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. When I was watching, you know, usually when you're seeing this happen and you're seeing the character do this and you're seeing the character development, you're seeing the character and you're kind of going like, oh man, I hope they don't catch you at the end. You know what I mean? You're like, you're expecting them, if a camera or somebody sees them, they're gonna get disqualified, or they might have to answer for those shortcuts. In this particular race, I could see that after the fact when she saw it, but as I was watching it, I was like, man, smart girl, good job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sweet. And then when Antiope catches her or whatever and says like, oh, you're cheating, I was like, yeah, I guess that's cheat. I guess I was cheating.
I guess insight and elevated thinking and
Yeah,
not going with the herd is
yeah,
a subject for disqualification.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
you know,
just group thinking,
yeah,
not thinking for yourself and not finding a better solution, not even to just skip to the finish line, but to catch up to where you were.
yeah,
I guess that's worth being, you know, disqualified for, chastised for, and it's a very small thing in the movie, but it does speak for kind of the way the direction of the writing. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like these very boilerplate lessons, and then you get that speech by the very end. You know what I mean? Like what is
Oh,
happening? You know
the,
what I mean?
the speech was crazy because that's what's crazy is they decided to go with the emotional heavy
Right,
instead of the physical heavy, right? They didn't want to go with Cheetah. They wanted Cheetah to just kind of be like a side fight because Wonder Woman has to
right.
have a fight in a movie, right? So so they went emotionally heavy. But then there's no context for all of this emotion. So then, you know, in this end speech that you have, you feel nothing because it's like what? First off, the speech doesn't make sense, and second, you feel nothing for these characters. So like I don't know. I didn't feel anything, and it just didn't make sense. Like Maxwell Lord unwishes everything. He just steps outside and starts yelling for his kid. All of a sudden, his kid is just there, is just in a bush. Like he's just. That's what the unwishing. I don't know. I just thought it was so ridiculous. He's like, oh, hey, son. Uh, oh,
There
son.
you are.
And they run and they have this moment, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? That was talk about thrown in, man. Like Jesus. But that was the whole film. No context for that big hug moment, that big running to each other in slow motion and hugging each other. No context for it. There's no relationship between him and his son. There's no nothing. There's no explanation of how he unwished it and why he would even be right there in the middle of the woods with nobody else would be there. No, you know.
I think that he felt the presence because they do when he's like looking at everything. I think
Mm,
he sees a vision of his son calling for his dad.
ah,
So, but I mean, he does get from like the middle of the ocean to Washington,
yeah.
well, before you know dusk and everything. So it's very much this take on Wonder Woman in this film is very much like Saturday morning cartoonish,
Oh,
and that's cool if you want to go in that. But when you're looking at the whole picture of the DCU, how does this fit in terms of the character progression of her going? We know where she ends up. You know, we know where she ends up on in Batman vs Superman and in Justice League, where it is so like night and day. You know what I mean? I understand time has passed and everything, but this doesn't even feel like it's on the same planet. It feels kind of like an Elseworlds tale. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Very bizarre.
But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like even if I'm trying to like the DCEU, okay, okay. So let's say I'm talking to like a DCEU fan, right? One of those hardcores where like you can't say anything bad to them, you know, like how many movies now have they just made? And we're like, oh no, yeah, but that one doesn't. Oh yeah, no, that one's not part of it. No, but that one's not doesn't really. Only parts of it are part of the story, not really part of the story.
Yeah.
So what? So then really, what are you even getting mad at? What you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like it, but here you are making movies that like don't even make. They're not even. It's almost like you made it and then you're like you just toss it aside. All right, let's move on. And like I never need to watch that again because it's not part. It's not good and it's not part of the story. That's what I'm trying to say. If there was an epic fight scene between Cheetah, then maybe I'd go back and rewatch it, because even if it didn't have any context to the story, then I'm like, hey, at least I'm gonna watch this dope fight between her and Cheetah. You know what I mean? At least. But like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing. There's nothing salvageable. There's no feelings. There's no investment. There's no nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Is it fun? Like, yeah, I guess. I guess it's fun. You know, like, but is it good?
That's a
No.
whole other discussion.
Is it cohesive? No, it is not. And it's not like right off the bat. And that's what sucks. Right off the bat, I was like, man, this is gonna be so good. Cause you see the opening scene and you're like, man, that's dope. And then you see the other opening scene where she's in the mall, you know, and you're like, okay,
The
all right.
other opening scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, okay, all right, okay, I
This
see.
shit started already.
And then it just goes downhill. You're just like, wait, what's happening? And you just
Yeah.
see it go down.
Well, not that I enjoy talking trash about a movie, because I know they are hard to do, but we have to discuss this one thing that is just very bizarre. It's a very bizarre choice in the film. So Steve Trevor is resurrected in a way. His soul is brought back and it's transported into a guy, a random person that Diana does not know. He comes in, he shows up. He at first all you see is this actor on the right in his gloves and everything approaching Diana. Diana's like, "Who the F are you? I don't know you." And then slowly he starts to reveal himself as Chris Pine. So from then on, all we see is Chris Pine, even though it's the same guy. And from that point, they restart their relationship. Steve Trevor is back. He's experiencing the 80s. They have sex in this guy's home. They go through his belongings, his clothing. They put his body in life-threatening situations. This was a very bizarre choice.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to say. Daniel, how did you feel when you watched this? Was it gross? Was it hot? How did you feel about it?
So I was so confused when he turned into Chris Pine, which is they're in the thing, and they're like going around and around, and then he just turns into Chris Pine. And then at first I didn't get it until they get to his house, you know, and they're like, you know, they're hanging out, and I'm like, oh no. Like at first I was like, they're not doing this. They're not doing this. They're not. And then they go to the house, and that's when I was like, oh, they are doing it. I was like, they are just doing this. They're doing this. They don't care. They don't care. They're doing it. They're just gonna do this. And so that's when I realized, like, dude, you just want to have Chris Pine. Why not just have the other guy? It would make sense to have the other guy. That would make sense, because it's
Why
like,
not just resurrect him?
Chris Pine. Yeah, what? And that's when I was like, dude, you guys don't care. You just said screw it. You said screw content.
That you literally did it.
You just said. At that point I was like, oh, okay, so this is either for like an idiot or for like a little kid, like a little kid. Like this is for like a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old to just watch and see colors on the screen and see Wonder Woman. Because now this has no context at all. And first off, like, that dude, like, his life, and it's just for weeks. Like, that dude probably lost his job and everything. Like,
yeah.
Like,
lost
what?
his job, lost
like,
his girlfriend because she probably saw him with Diana.
Yeah, where is exactly, like, what? That's where you've been? Oh my God.
Got bruises from being punched. How did that happen?
What? Yeah. No context. And that just goes, it's just down the list of all of this movie's things that have no context. You know what I mean? Like, there's no context for that. There's no context for that. Either bring back Steve Trevor, bring him back. Use the other guy. What? You're using the other guy, but only Diana sees him as Chris Pine, but like we're supposed to also what? What?
So
What?
it was this point when I stopped liking Diana as a character, because this is just wrong. Okay,
It's
this is
wrong.
wrong. This is I don't want to say the word that it is. Okay, because it is that. All right, this is very morally. I don't know how anyone thinks about this or defends this. This only amplifies people's agendas in certain cases. This is insane. You know, this is insane that this even made it past the producers. They decided, hey, you know what would be cool is if the soul of this dude inhabited this guy's body. It's not like, and I doubt that what if this guy was gay and he's having sex with fucking Diana Prince? You know what I mean? Right? Like, what if, right? There's literally no thought to it. I'm sure if the guy was straight and he saw Diana and he had like that inside of, that Pixar movie, what's it called?
Inside Out.
Inside Out, like he had that little window. He'd be like, "Yeah, boy, yeah." But we didn't see that. The guy doesn't even remember it by the end. They meet up by the end at this like Christmas pageant thing, and she's like, "Oh, good times."
Yeah.
What?
No, yeah, because it's bad. It's bad.
Look, there comes a point where bullshit is bullshit. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and you know what? I'm not.
Maybe I'm going a bit extreme with it, but they decided to put that in the movie.
Well, no, because that's the movie, and more people I talk to, are so the
or
problem,
what? Say it again.
I said so the more people I talk to, the problem is that like people like us, we saw the movie and we felt a certain way. A lot of people, when they're starting to feel a certain way, I'm talking to like some homies, and I'll ask them about Wonder Woman 84, and like, yeah, I went back and I watched it, or I stopped to think about it, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, or like, that's worse than it was. I'm like, yes, when you stop and think that you're not in the Saturday morning cartoon and it's over and you're starting to think about it. The only thing is I thought about it right when it happened. I was like, wait, what? But that guy has a life, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
He's a human being.
Not I'm a dad and whatever. Everybody has a freaking life, so they can all relate to this. But I just thought about like, what about my daughters? What about like,
dude,
baby mom? Like, what they're gonna be like? Where is Daniel? Just disappeared. Like, you know what I mean? So,
they're going through his house, judging his clothes, talking about his life, deciding what's next for his body.
Yeah.
That, like, dude, I don't know how this gets a pass. And I don't know if it really does get a pass, but I don't know how someone defends this and then says, well, Jessica Jones was a great depiction of Stockholm syndrome and like the inside of a rapist's mind. Now, she's taking advantage of the situation of this guy's body, has no choice. Like, before she knew it was Steve Trevor, she told the guy to F off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There was no interest until she knew it had something to do with her. So at that point, I just feel so confused, and like I'm not with you anymore. I don't follow you anymore. What you are doing is abhorrent. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be one of these male rights guy. You know, like, come on, that's ridiculous. But does no one see the fucked up part of this? You know what I mean?
It's bad. I especially thought it was bad by the end of the movie, where I was like, but what about the guy? The guy's life again, context again. But you know, that's by that point, I'm like, I'm not gonna get it. This movie is the movie of just giving me stuff without eggs. It's just what's gonna happen, you know. There are fun moments like the opening scene and the other opening scene, you know, but there's nothing there. The cheetah fight was very basic and you could barely see. It was whatever. The other action sequence on the road, what?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, I thought, like, her running, that looked like clip art. It looked like someone made like you know, like where they have people like Conor McGregor running in the running of the bulls, you know, and he's just like like running, and he's like, he's the bull, and he like knocks people out. The running looked like that for Wonder Woman. It looked like that, like
Yeah,
she's like running, and it didn't look right. You know, I don't know.
nothing
I
looked
don't
right,
know.
dude.
In the first one, it looked better when she ran. It looked like she was actually running that speed. And this one is like she's running, but her feet is like she's dangling on off the road. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't know.
Well,
I just had a lot of issues with the movie, and I didn't really want to. I
yeah, me
want.
neither. I want to go in loving the movie. I love the trailers. I love the color. I love the posters and everything about the
Oh,
movie. I
great.
thought it had such a cool look to it, and seeing that suit and everything. There's so much about this that I wanted to love, but it kept fighting me back, dude. I mean, the Patty Jenkins, the director, kind of responded ish to this whole mind swap thing of
Oh,
the guy and Steve Trevor and everything.
oh, did she really?
Well, it kind of.
Oh,
Someone on Twitter wrote this whole thing, this whole diatribe about uh, justifying what
whoa.
happened with the
Justifying it?
just so I'll read it for those who can't see it. One, I'm linking the wiki to the body swap movie genre. If you can't see that Patty Jenkins was playing with that trope and even intentionally pointing out the problematic nature that all these movies have to skirt around, then I think you need to re-examine a beloved 80s fantasy movie like Big with Tom Hanks, where he, as a 12-year-old adult or a 12-year-old in an adult body, has sex with an adult female, making her a statutory rapist by default. Also, two, this movie implies that if you revoke your wish, then much of the impact of your wish is revoked. Hence, even the sex with Diana had with the guy possessed with Steve may have actually been eradicated from the movie's fabric of reality. I'm sorry, that was not written very well. But she apparently she retweeted this and said like spot on, exactly, Patty Jenkins herself. So Daniel, before we talk about whether whether this is wrong or not, what do you think first when you read this? Do you think he's got a point? Are we not being fair when it comes to something like Big, like he brought up? What do you think?
I think so. First off, before we even carry on, like you did mention, maybe we are being a bit extreme here. You know what I mean? But we're just doing that for the sake of of pointing out, the pointing it out. Here,
Yeah,
I do agree. I do think they have a point. It is a movie. They're just messing around with tropes and different things. Like,
right.
and sometimes you're gonna have little inconsistencies that are kind of like what like I like Howard the Duck. There's a duck that tries to get with a that gets with a chick, like like so to really judge it at like, oh, now we're gonna jump to rape and this and that, like that's kind of, it's kind of ridiculous. It is just a trope. I do see the point there, but it is different with Big in that did she know he was a 12-year-old? Because
No.
in Wonder Woman, yeah, see here she knows that this is not Steve Trevor.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The thing is still happening, like knowingly still. Like Wonder Woman is still making the choice to do it. So that's the only thing where I'm like, that's a little different. And yes, I do think there is a point of once your wish goes back, things just kind of go back to normal. Okay, that isn't really
I
explained
don't
too
I
well.
don't agree
The
with any
rules
of
of
that,
that
by the
and the
way.
rules of that. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're just making that assumption. The rules of that aren't explained in the context of the movie. They're not really
So
explained.
nothing happened.
So not, yeah, exactly. So right. She still made the decision. We saw it on screen. We still saw her character make that decision.
Yeah.
Um, I do see the point they're trying to make and the point that they're making, but um, uh, yeah, I don't know if it truly applies fully here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see that there's a point as well in that there's hypocrisy when it comes to anything that's trying to be like this cancel culture we have right now. There's a lot of hypocrisy in it because it's fresh and it's newer, you know what I mean? But I've always felt weird about that part in Big. I've
Oh,
always felt weird about that.
yeah. That is a weird part. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like to use a weird example as a defense for another weird situation is weird in itself. Like see this happened here. Like yeah, and that
And it
was
was weird then.
yeah, it was weird. Oh, all right then. Yeah, That's what we're saying, dude. It was weird then. So that's not a what? Like, thank you for pointing that out. That
Yeah.
was also weird. Here it is weird again. You know what I mean? But yeah, because even with Howard the Duck, even as like it didn't take me long to think that was weird. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I just thought it was Howard the Duck getting with the love interest. I didn't, I was probably like 6, when I saw that movie. But then you get older, you're 10, and you're like, it's a duck, dude. What the heck is going on? You watch it again, you're like, what? Like, I like this. Like, what is this?
Dude, let me look. I don't want to be one of these guys who's trying to be like a male, right, whatever type thing. This is just how I feel, honestly, when I watch the movie.
Mhm,
Switch the genders. It's
mhm.
a whole different story. It's a whole different story. If it was fucking Wonder Man and Stephanie Trevor in another woman's body, don't even
Overboard.
what?
Overboard.
Oh, I'm just saying, man. Like this is it's either applicable or we're just turning a blind eye. You
No,
know what I
remember,
mean?
no, remember the movie Overboard where the chick gets knocked out and the
Oh,
dude Kurt Russell gets her. She's like, "You're my wife." Like, oh shoot. And then they switched the genders, right? Didn't they remake it and they switched the genders? It's like the
I
dude.
I've never seen Overboard.
Oh, you've never seen Overboard? Oh, you would love it. You would love it.
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah, you. It's Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. You gotta love it. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Yeah.
They
No.
don't make them like that anymore.
Oh,
Obviously.
no, they do. Just did.
Wonder Woman 84. Here you
Wonder
go.
Woman 84,
Yeah.
bro.
No, but yeah, that's yeah, it's a movie where a chick goes overboard, Goldie Hawn, and she gets knocked out and has amnesia, and then Kurt Russell's like, he's like has a bunch of kids and is like, oh yeah, she's my wife, she got hurt or whatever. And then she's like from this rich yacht and stuff like that, and so she's married to this rich, she has a bunch of money, and then has to live with these, be the mom of this and learn how to be a mom even though she has no idea. And he's like, yeah, you do this all the time. And Tracy,
Yeah.
but then yeah, then it ends up happy or whatever. But it's kind of like when you stop and think about it a little bit too much, you're like, dude, you just stole that woman.
You just kidnapped
You just
that
get,
woman.
like what
That's
the
messed
heck,
up.
dude? You just so
That's
yeah.
wrong. Okay, let's get away from all that bullshit. Let's talk about the score very quickly.
Okay.
So this is Hans Zimmer doing the score, which is funny because a couple years ago he said he wouldn't, after I think Dark Phoenix, that would be his last one,
Yeah,
superhero score. But I guess you're never really done. You just want to take breaks sometimes.
yeah.
So here he comes back with Wonder Woman 84, and I got a bit confused at points because they were not confused, but I was a bit odded out because I heard similar tracks from other films. You know what I mean? I heard this one, I believe, from X-Men: Days of Future Past. The trailer for that when she's learning to fly. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Learning to
yes,
fly,
yes.
and then that music starts playing. I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, I thought some my thing was glitching. I thought the screen was glitching or something because not that bad, not to be dramatic, you know what I mean? But I was seriously like, I thought I was hearing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, not that it was glitching. I guess maybe that I was glitching more is the right word. But I was like, wait, am I?
Yeah.
Then I was like paying attention because I was like, they can't be right. Like, you hear Batman later, like what?
Yeah. A
What?
Beautiful Lie from Batman versus Superman plays when Wonder Woman is giving this speech to the world about letting go of their dreams and or not their wishes.
What's
Um,
happening?
I'm like, why was that
Why
playing?
is that? What's happening? Yeah, I didn't understand. Does Zimmer choose a score for these things, or
Well, that's what my question was going to be. I feel like this movie, when it came to his contribution, was a bit shocking because it felt like there was very little work put into it. Because the guy does stellar work, like insane work. The Dark Knight, Interstellar, Inception, Even Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, like there's a lot of work you feel in it. Do you think this was almost like a lazy score?
It seemed cut and paste.
Yeah.
Seemed cut and paste from like previous works. That's what it seemed. It seemed like, you know what? Like maybe like his assistants made this. Like you just check it out. They're bothering me for this score. Like just do some stuff. Get some old stuff, mix it together. Like do some, and I don't know. Everyone can have a bad day at the office, right? But I don't know. It just seemed, not that it was bad. I like all those scores.
Yeah, it's all great music. It's
all
just
great music.
why
Yeah.
is it there?
Why is it there? Yeah, that's the only thing. That's why I was kind of like, I was left asking myself, like, did the producers hire him? Like let's say you're Hans Zimmer or you're Julius and you have all this work. And I'm like, I can't really use that work. I need your music, but I can't use that work unless I hire you. So then I'm like, hey, Julius, like, you don't have to do shit like on this movie. I know you don't want to. I know you're busy. Can I just hire you and put your name on this? And then I'll take stuff, let me do it. And I'll just take stuff from that you already have. And you're like, yeah, sure. Go ahead, man. I don't really care. I don't want to work on it. Talk to my assistants, put that together. That's what it kind of felt like. And could that not be, could that be further from the truth? It could. Yeah, that it could be. He sat there,
Yeah,
messed up, or was just like, I'm lazy, or whatever. I don't know. It could be whatever.
or maybe
But
he was working on other stuff. I mean, I don't see an inherent problem with that theory that you brought up. Like, okay, can I use some of your other stuff? I don't see a problem with that. It was just a bit bizarre at first because hearing the Beautiful Lie theme, it's the same music that plays when Batman's parents are killed at the beginning of Batman vs Superman. I'm like, wait, are we gonna cut to that moment? Like, is this connected to that moment? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why is it there?
It just says in music does a lot, right? We know this.
Oh yeah.
Like it does a lot for a scene, and so if you're paying attention to that kind of thing, like if you're really paying attention to it, yeah, it's gonna set you up for something. You're gonna hear Batman and you're gonna be like, okay, are they gonna do another like flash moment? Like, is this gonna be anything where like, Batman is here, Wonder Woman, don't say this, like, I don't know.
Let Steve go.
Yeah, Steve go. I thought I was expecting Bruce to come out and say something.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh shoot, okay, this is about to happen. I was like,
one of the kids she saved in Egypt was actually a young Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought, okay, there's another thing that has no context. Again, like the 10th thing in this freaking movie that has no context. I didn't get an answer for. I have no reason. And no, it's not a big deal. But like,
no, yeah, it's just bizarre.
Why is Batman music in this? It'd be like if the movie started playing, like, or that scene starts happening. Like they're all grabbing each other. Everything's flying around. He's making wishes or whatever, and she's giving this speech, and then you hear dun 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 dun, Mortal Kombat. Like, you just hear this.
I want to re-edit that now. Mortal Kombat. Dun, dun.
What? Because what?
It reminded me in like Justice League, the Joss Whedon cut. That he brought on Danny Elfman to do the score because he didn't want to use Junkie XL. And Danny Elfman brought back his Batman theme from '89 when Batman's on that gargoyle and you hear the music swelling up and everything. The thunder's there, dun, 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 and it makes a bit of sense, even though it is a different Batman. That like this Batman already has a theme, so why is that? Is this just Elfman being like, no, I made Batman's theme?
Right. It was, and that's what I felt when that happened. I was like, oh, this is a flex. This is such a flex.
It's like, okay, I mean, Danny, look, your music's great, but we all know what the real Batman theme is. It's in the 60s. Okay? That's the one everyone thinks of, dude.
It's the one.
Yeah.
And I love Mike Keaton, but we're talking about theme songs. That's the one.
That's for some kids, that's the first song they ever sung,
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, come on.
Come on now.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean that music's dope. The when Beautiful Light comes in, I'm like, okay, that's pretty dope. I want that music to be playing when I steal fucking Angel's credit card and go on a Amazon shopping spree, you know?
There you go.
Exactly. Okay, so Daniel,
Mm,
what I want to know, and this is gonna be the final point.
okay.
Um, do you think that this movie fits in the DC EU? You know, we obviously talked about how this feels very separated. It doesn't feel like it adds anything. This is obviously the middle of a trilogy. Maybe it could add something to the third Wonder Woman film. Do you think this fits?
No, not at all. I don't think it fits even in its own trilogy, and that's even saying something. And I'm okay with that. I still want a third. I still want a third. I want them to finish the period on the sentence, and if it's bad, it's bad. But if it's good, we'll have two really amazing Wonder Woman movies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, go for the third one. We'll have a set trilogy, a Wonder Woman trilogy, Batman trilogy, Cap trilogy. Like we have these trilogies. Finish the Wonder Woman trilogy. Wonder Woman needs a trilogy. There's a female hero that needs a trilogy. Finish it. I don't care if this movie was bad. The first one was freaking amazing. The third one can be if they just just forget this one, because obviously you can't really connect it. Don't feel the urge to connect it to this one. Please don't. This one was throwaway. Okay, tough. Now make another one. Either connect the last one to the new films, or just make it another one-off that and make it epic, and make
Mm.
it a Wonder Woman epic, and that's it. And then just that's it. But does this film fit? No, the film doesn't even fit in, like I said, in its own trilogy, because what was it? What was the arc? What was the
Yeah.
what and if this didn't have an arc, okay, where does this fit in any other arc that is happening between the context of the first movie, the mourning and the loss, the acceptance of Steve Trevor? Okay, um,
But you went through that in the first film.
we went through that in the first
Yeah.
film. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So like what? So we didn't really. There's literally no need, not even in its own trilogy. There's no need for it in DCU. There's no need for this movie in its own trilogy, and we'll see that. Hopefully, if we get a third movie, I hope we see that there's no need for this movie. I hope, and what I mean by that is, like I said, I hope it's not connected to this in any way. I hope they just kind of go with a new story and just make a dope Wonder Woman movie.
Mm.
Either one off or connect it to the DCU that's currently happening. Either with the Snyder cut, if it's good, we'll see on Thursday, with the universe. I don't know. What are they doing? Like, what
Well,
are they doing?
you
What are
know,
they doing?
um, when it comes to the third film, I hope that they learn the lessons from both films, more specifically this one, and improve on a third film. And I actually wouldn't mind if it was connected to this film, if it made reference to it, because I feel like you could get something as thoughtful as like an Endgame, where they include Thor: The Dark World, a movie that wasn't terribly well received. It was kind of like a middle movie for Thor, but they did make it a big part of Wonder Woman's or of Thor's progression as a character. And I thought there was something really cool that came out of it. So if they did something like that with the third Wonder Woman film, referenced a movie that wasn't super great, and just built upon it, maybe the appreciation for that movie would be more. I don't know. At least we get a good story out of it, you know? I'd be
That
cool with that.
That's a great point. I agree. Yeah, you can take something but see, the thing with Dark World, even though Dark World wasn't a good movie, it still made sense in its own movie. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's still it wasn't all over the place. Like I didn't like Dark World, but
Right.
not because it was all over the place and I had no idea what was going on. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, what? And there were some head scratchers in there, and it's kind of, but it wasn't as chaotic as this. It wasn't as pointless. And we won't know, like you said, maybe
Yeah.
with the third one they add context to this. That's what I'm trying to say. I do think that's a good point, because they do take something that wasn't really that good, and in the third one add value to it. in the past tense. This is crazy. It's really cool to be able to do that. And yeah, you know, I'm saying I kind of just went with the, hey, don't be connected, because I don't trust them. I don't trust them to be able to, I don't trust Warner Brothers to be able to make a movie that is that, I guess, not that intricate to other studios, but for them is obviously intricate to connect and reference and still make one good. That's why I'm like, you know what? It's obviously too hard for you guys. Stop it. Just make a good movie. Screw Easter eggs. Screw like developing the larger friend. Just make me a good movie, please. Like just one more good Wonder Woman movie, please. I don't care. Like if it reference and add value to this, that would be cool, because then you can add value to the current, the third movie. You know what I mean? And kind of, you know, take from that and not have to waste time in the third movie. You know,
Yeah.
where you're implying things that we've already seen. So I do see that, but I just want them to make a good movie, and I don't want to add things like, oh, reference this and reference that and make this more complicated. Like, just make me a good movie.
Please.
Wonder Woman kicking some butt, please. That's it. You know,
That's
please.
all. I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you, Daniel. I agree with all that, and I think this discussion highlighted why certain films they need a good chastising sometimes, because this is the only way you get better. You know, hopefully, when it comes to not even just our criticism, but the criticisms that are healthy. You know what I mean? Not just like, this is bad because this is implying that and this implying. Now, where could you make the next movie stronger? I think it's very important to take that from the past films. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. And yeah, I mean, I just wish they listened, you know, and they paid attention to these things.
Yeah, well, that's all for Wonder Woman 84. I'm glad we got through it. Daniel, where can the people find yourself?
They can find me on this cardboard right here. Just,
you can come over and look at it.
Yeah, just come over and stare at it. No, I'm on the show No One Asked For. It's a good show I do with my homie Saga right here, Saga MC, and we talk about a bunch of stuff. We have an episode coming out. Well, I don't know when this is coming out. Well, it's coming out today.
Coming out tomorrow.
Our episode's coming out today. So 6/21. We also have a segment called The Scuffle, where we talk about mixed martial arts in combat sports in general. So, but that's where you can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. Show No One Asked For. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome, man. I'm very happy to have done all these, and we will end this one with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Finally, final period on this mini-series sentence. I'm happy that we did this. Guys, please subscribe, because if you do, you will add us to our goal of 10,000 subscribers. It will become a reality, and we won't have to wish for it anymore. We will finally get it. I'm Julius. That was Daniel. Stay safe, and goodbye.
Peace.